is how to lock your lats and upper back down in the squat. This is probably one of the most screwed up motions of the movement, all right? And it's arguably right next to your bracing and rooting, probably the third biggest component of a big squat. You can have your belly braced, you can have your foot rooted, you can be a strong fuck, but if your upper back is just loose and these shoulders can go anywhere and you can get pushed over, well, that's what's gonna happen, all right? So, just like we did in the bench video the other day when I talked about the scap depression, where I don't really care for that tuck your elbows cue, because if you're depressing the scap, you can see the elbows somewhat tuck in, getting a little bit of that external rotation just automatically. That same motion of depression with retraction is essentially the same thing of how you're going to lock this bar in with the squat. Slightly different for the deadlift, especially if you pull on purpose with an rounded upper back. However, in the squat, there is nobody that I can think of that unracks the bar slightly bent over, or I should say rounded, that's really ever strong. I've seen a lot of guys that get some strong lifts, they hit the hole and they get pushed over, which once again could come from the upper back being too weak or possibly just not engaging that scap. Massive amounts of weight move. However, it doesn't mean they move that weight because of how they squat. They do it in spite of that. All right, and I argue that if these guys would pull this scap down, lock everything down, that their squat's going to go up just as much as anybody else's would. Even if they're already squatting 700-800 pounds with god-awful form, it can only get better. All right, so scap control, all it is, the easiest way to think of it, is to shrug up, or at least for me, shrug up as high as you can to get just that neural connection, and then reverse the motion. All right, so think about it. Shoulders to the ears, shoulders to the floor, as hard as you can. Okay, you almost think like that Iron Man, you're flying away kind of thing, right? So, second part, down and then slightly back. All right, you notice, you hear a lot of people talk about grabbing the bar, pulling the bar down, torquing your elbows forward up and under the bar to fire your lats. I don't agree with any of that, okay? I strongly believe that that is the reason that a lot of people, along with tight lats and blah, 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 one of the reasons that so many of us powerlifters, especially the heavyweight guys, start to develop bicep tendonitis, because we already don't have the shoulder mobility to be where we need to be, and then we try and crank our elbows and pull the bar, and it just, there's no reason. I don't need my bicep to lock down my spines, okay? So, one of the biggest mistakes you see when people come in is they'll just get up behind this bar, kind of lackadaisically, and they'll throw their chest up, okay? They'll come in here, they'll look up to the sky even, and they think their back's locked in because it's got an arch in it, you know, chest up, cute, all right? Think about it though. Arching up into this, that's not really any upper back movement. It's also going to take away from the efficiency of your brace, all right? And I know this on scap control, but nonetheless, it all kind of go hands in hand. If you can learn to brace with your lats pulled down, you're going to develop much more intra-abdominal pressure just through everything working together, all right? So, grab your bar, come in, and then find your shelf. All right, for me, it's right here. And then I imagine I use this bar and the weight on the bar to push my scap down. So I'm going to pull my shoulders down and then back. All right, and you see I just did that without having my hands on the bar. So it's clearly possible. All right, come back in, scap down, and back. And as you see, my elbows moved a little bit. If I relax, the elbows will flare back up, my upper back will round. So, log it down, the elbows came forward. I am not torquing my elbow. I'm squeezing the bar, and then I'm pulling down. And the same thing that happens on the bench happens here. The elbow slightly comes under. The elbow coming under is not what fires the lat. It just happens because I'm firing the lat. So, lock down. Then you get the guys, they finally get locked in and they've got it right. Fire their glutes, and then as soon as they they unrack the damn thing, they do this. Then they walk back, and then they throw it in, and then they try to lock it down. And you know what? It looks really cool on Instagram, all right? But I can assure you, you put 700, 800, 900 pounds on your back, most of us, unless you're an honest to God freak and capable of squatting much more than you're showing, is not going to be strong enough to shrug up that 700-800 pounds and then put it right back down exactly where it needs to be. You're never going to be able to get as tight and as perfect under this bar while it's sitting right here. You know, does that make sense? It's much easier to set your lats with the bar setting here than it is to try and pick it up and then get set. It doesn't make any sense. We don't want movement. You need spine stability. You don't want spine mobility necessarily in the squat. Obviously, you need a little bit here and there. I can see you guys eating this shit apart. But for the basics, something to think about. Come in, squeeze the bar, scap down. Like I said, use the bar. Use the weight of the bar to kind of push it down even harder. Lock it down, lock it back, stand up. You notice nothing here moved, all right? I didn't shrug the bar up or anything along those lines or try and good morning the bar out. It was just pulled down, pulled back, stand up. I'm still pulling with the lats. I'm still pulling my shoulders down. I'm stepping back. I'm still pulling my shoulders down. Step back again. Still pulling my shoulders down. Back. Shoulders are down. Now at this point, if you walked it out, take a big belly brace. All right. My shoulders didn't move. Lock the bar down. Stop any of this movement. Breathing through the chest. You're trying to stabilize down here, okay? Breathing up through the chest is not going to do anything. This is not a good place to be, all right? I can set my scap, pull the shoulders back, and now I'm still locked. I'm still rigid, but I'm not this that you see so often. Generally speaking, you see that with a big squat. They usually fall over in the bottom, and a lot of times the bar keeps going. So I hope that made a little bit of sense.